Ghost Eye's Buddha's Hand. Chapter 1, The Ghost Eye is initially formed. I never went to school since I was a child, and I learned the craft from a beautiful woman for 10 years. Her name is Xiling, her appearance is cold but mysterious, and every teaching seems to polish my soul. In 10 years, she forged a pair of ghost eyes for me, which can identify rare treasures in the world. When I saw the blue and white porcelain for the first time, my heart beat faster like a living creature, and all the details of the world jumped under my eyes. Chapter 2, Buddha's Hand Attacks. On the day I practiced Buddha's Hand, I cracked a 1,000-year-old lock in front of Xiling for the first time. She said lightly, "When your hands are stable, your heart will be settled, and everything in the world will be broken." I flipped my fingers, clicked the lock open, and my heart was filled with pride. Since then, I know that I can roam the antique world without fear. Chapter 3, The First Test of Magic Skills. Xiling taught me another magic skill and calmly played with the world. I observe people's hearts in tea houses, streets, and markets, and arrange the situation, which is invincible. The first time I tested the people in the world with antique trading, I saw the true meaning of antiques are not playing with antiques, but playing with people. Chapter 4, First Entry into the World. I stepped into the world with ghost eyes and Buddha's hands. The first stop is Qingyang town in the southeast, where the antique market is very lively. A businessman named Feng Qingyang tried to deceive me with inferior products, and I saw through his mind with just one glance, and instead took a jade pendant worth 1,000 gold pieces into my pocket. Chapter 5, Black Market Treasures. In the dark part of the black market in Qingyang town, it is rumored that there is a rare treasure, Bagyo beads, which are of immeasurable value. I mixed in, probing with ghost eyes, laying out Buddha's hands, and magical skills followed. Finally, I used a strategy to take the Bagyo bead, but it also attracted the attention of a mysterious person, a masked man with sharp eyes like a knife. Chapter 6, The Trial of Purple Feather. Back at Xiling's residence, she sneered, "The rivers and lakes may not treat you well, but you are no longer a child." She gave me a test question: within 10 days, use ghost eyes, Buddha's hands, and magical skills to collect 5 rare treasures, otherwise you will not be allowed to go out of the world again. I secretly made up my mind, within 10 days, I will complete this trial. Chapter 7, Treasure Tracking. My first goal was the cold iron cauldron in the northwest. At the ancient temple in the barren mountains, I met 2 collectors from overseas, who were of different nationalities but also eyed the cold iron cauldron. I used my ghost eyes to see through their methods and retrieved the tripod with Buddha's hands. Chapter 8, Undercurrents Intertwined. The rivers and lakes are not just trading grounds, there are undercurrents. At the Dragon Boat Festival in South China, I met a master who called himself No Shadow Guest, who was famous in the black market. I fought with him and turned the situation around with Buddha's hand, but he only smiled lightly. "Boy, good method, but you are still tender." I was secretly vigilant in my heart. The road to the rivers and lakes was more dangerous than I imagined. Chapter 9, The Truth About Ghost Eyes. During a treasure hunt in an ancient tomb, my ghost eyes unexpectedly showed a light that I had never seen before. I saw an old man in the town, who was actually a hidden antique master, hiding the biggest secret of the rivers and lakes, the 9 Treasure Sutra, which had been lost for thousands of years. I understand that the world is not just about money and fame, but also about power, desire, and secrets. Chapter 10, Midnight Mystery. Late at night, I was walking alone on the stone streets of Qingyang town, and the moonlight was like water. Suddenly, a whisper came from my ear: "Antiques are not playing with antiques, but playing with people, do you understand?" I suddenly looked back and saw that there was no one there, but I knew in my heart that the real world had just begun. Chapter 11, Black Market Night Walk. I sneaked into the night market on the coast of the East China Sea, and the lights flickered like fireflies. In the black market, there are a dazzling array of collections, but secretly someone is eyeing the cold iron cauldron in my hand. I used my ghost eyes to see through a few sneak attackers, flipped my Buddha's hand, and bypassed the hidden arrows. Chapter 12, Treasures of the Sea. The news came that there was a strange treasure on the southwest island, Lingshanshu. I boarded a fishing boat and confronted Sho Matsumoto, a collector from Japan. Matsumoto was unwilling, but my magical arrangement made him mistakenly think it was an illusion and left angrily. Chapter 13, Purple Feather's Temptation. Xiling suddenly appeared in a cold tone: "3 treasures, you only complete 2, the rivers and lakes may not spare you." She set up a game and asked me to retrieve the treasured jade box from the antique shop in town in the middle of the night. I laughed secretly. The ghost eye distinguished the truth, the Buddha's hand broke the unlock, the magic skill confused the shopkeeper, and the jade box was easily in the bag. Chapter 14, Dragon Boat Festival. At the Dragon Boat Festival, the masters of the rivers and lakes gathered, and I was looking for the 4th treasure, the Blood Jade Cup. The shadowless guest appeared again, and he sneered, "This time, let's see if you can take it." I fought with him. the ghost eye distinguished the truth from the false, the Buddha's hand played the game, and the magic technique was illusion, and finally won the blood jade cup in the splash, and he had no choice but to retreat. Chapter 15, The Midnight Mirror House. Receiving an anonymous prompt, I went to a mirror house outside the town to find the fifth treasure, the mirror vase. The light and shadow in the mirror house are intertwined, the ghost eyes reflect the illusion and the real thing, and the Buddha's hands shuttle between them, skillfully arranged, and the mirror vase is in the pocket. At the same time, I found that someone was secretly observing behind me, and the figure was very similar to Xiling. Chapter 16, Clues to the Nine Treasure Sutra. The mirror vase contains fragments of ancient scrolls, hinting at the location of the 9 treasure sutras that have been lost for thousands of years. My heart was shocked and I realized that the real secret of the rivers and lakes had emerged. Xiling has not shown up for a long time, I feel the turbulence alone, and the road to the rivers and lakes is becoming more and more difficult. Chapter 17, Transnational Power. When the news came out, overseas collectors were also ready to move, and the big antique owners in Russia, India, and the United Kingdom had their own ghosts. Under the guidance of the ghost eye, I cleverly avoided tracking, collected clues with my Buddha's hand, and the layout of my magical skills made them suspect each other, and the undercurrent continued to escalate. Chapter 18, The Shadowless Guest Reappears. The shadowless guest appeared in Hong Kong and confronted me, claiming that once the 9 treasure sutra fell into my hands, the world would be in chaos. I sneered, the rivers and lakes have their own rules, and whoever controls them depends on their ability. The ghost eye saw into its true meaning, and the Buddha's hand cracked the secret situation he had set, and the magic was used, and the two sides only forced each other with momentum, but there was no real fight. Chapter 19, Treasure of the Night. The clue pointed to an ancient desert city in southern Xinjiang, and I walked among them at night. The ancient city is as intricate as a maze, with ghost eyes seeing traps, Buddha's hands shuttling through them, and magical skills cast illusions, confusing the latent masters one by one. Finally, I found a dark room containing half a scroll of ancient scrolls, which was the key to the 9 treasure sutras. Chapter 20, The Appearance of Xiling. Just as I was taking the paper, Xiling appeared, with a complicated expression. You have been cultivating for more than 10 years, but the rivers and lakes are far more dangerous than you think. I knew in my heart that the real challenge had just begun, and her gaze was both a guide and a temptation. Chapter 21, The Desert Maze. I stepped into the ancient desert city of southern Xinjiang, the scorching sun was scorching, and the wind and sand were like knives. The ghost eye swept through every corner of the city, and the Buddha's hand shuttled between the stone gate and the trap, using magical skills to avoid all dangers. In the depths of the ancient city, I found half a volume of the 9 treasure sutra hidden at the bottom of an ancient well, emitting a shimmering light that attracted me closer like a ghost. Chapter 22, Russian Collectors. Russian collector Ivan Karlov appeared in the ancient city, with 2 of his men, in an attempt to snatch the 9 treasure scriptures. I saw their intentions with my ghost eyes, and the Buddha's hand was cleverly arranged, causing them to mistakenly think there was a trap in the abyss and retreat. Ivan sneered, "Boy, it's good, but the rivers and lakes are far more dangerous than you think." I was secretly vigilant in my heart, understanding that the 9 treasure sutra would attract more masters. Chapter 23, Indian Treasure Dealers. Then the Indian treasure dealer Ashoka Singh also showed up and tried to buy me with his financial resources. I smiled faintly, the ghost eyes distinguished the truth, and the Buddha's hand secretly retrieved the treasure, and the magic skill layout made the other party unable to start. On the road to the world, money and wisdom are equally important, and I am taking the initiative step by step. Chapter 24, Dark Night Tracking. The shadowless guest reappeared, claiming that the 9 treasure scriptures were extraordinary and could be controlled, and if I did not hand them over, disaster would be invited. My heart was shocked, but the ghost eyes saw through his motives, the Buddha's hand laid out traps, and the magic technique used illusions, secretly leading him into the sand dunes. He only sneered, "It's good that you can come this far, but the real challenge has just begun." Chapter 25, Mirror Flower Illusion. At night, I found a mirror house in the ancient city, and the whole house was full of illusions. The ghost eye can distinguish between true and false, and every mirror touched by the Buddha's hand can trigger a secret mechanism. The magic skill was performed, and I traveled freely through the illusion, and finally found the next clue of the 9 treasure scriptures, a jade pendant engraved with strange runes. Chapter 26, The Dark Situation on Hong Kong Island. Clues point to South China Island, and I sneak into the local black market and find that Japanese collector Sho Matsumoto has joined forces with overseas forces. The ghost eye has insight into the true and fake treasures hidden in the transaction, the Buddha's hand cleverly takes the key objects, and the magic skills confuse the opponent, so that I can obtain the jade pendant unscathed. At the same time, I secretly paid attention to Xiling's movements, feeling that she was always observing my every move. Chapter 27, Dragon Boat Festival Duel. A dragon boat festival is held on Hong Kong Island, and the black market forces are secretly competing. The shadowless guest and I engaged in a battle of intelligence and skill in the waterway. The ghost eye saw through the undercurrent underwater, the Buddha's hand turned the situation around, and the magic trick was used to confuse the enemy. In the end, I captured the target in the splash, and the shadowless traveler was forced to retreat. Chapter 28, 9 Treasure Sutra Puzzle. After collecting a number of treasures, I put together the fragments of the 9 treasure scriptures. There are hidden runes in it, pointing to a hidden valley, where legend has it that the full picture of the 9 treasure scriptures will be revealed. I was excited, the situation in the world became more and more complicated, and the danger was getting closer. Chapter 29, Purple Feather Appears. When I arrived at the entrance of the valley, Xiling appeared, her face complicated. You have been cultivating for more than 10 years, but the rivers and lakes may not spare you. I knew in my heart that she was both a mentor and a challenger. She stretched out her hand and motioned for me to follow into the valley. Under the dim light, ancient trees stood tall, exotic flowers and plants spread, and the air was filled with mystery. Chapter 30, The Valley Undercurrent. In the valley, the undercurrent is turbulent, and hidden masters and traps are everywhere. I used my ghost eyes to see around, the Buddha's hand skillfully defused the trap, and the magic skill used illusion to lure the enemy away. The last secret of the 9 treasure sutra gradually emerged, and I felt that the real battle of the rivers and lakes had just begun. Chapter 31, The Valley Mist. The entrance to the valley is filled with fog, like another world. I used my ghost eye to identify traps and false paths in the fog, and the Buddha's hand flipped the vine mechanism, and the magic technique was used to make the hidden master confuse himself. Every step is as thrilling as walking on a tightrope, but the 9 treasures sutra in my heart summons me to lead me forward. Chapter 32, The Shadow of the Ancient Tree. Deep in the valley, ancient trees tower tall and the shadows of the trees are like knives. A masked master suddenly appeared, the long sword in his hand flashed with cold light. The ghost eye saw into the flaws at the moment of his shot, the Buddha's hand cleverly blocked, and the magic phantom cover, and the two sides competed with their body skills and resourcefulness. In the end, the masked master stepped back, leaving a mysterious smile, and his voice echoed, "The real test is still ahead." Chapter 33, Fantasy Lake. The lake is as calm as a mirror, but it hides an abyss. The ghost eye reveals underwater undercurrents and sleeping treasures, and the Buddha's hand sneaks to retrieve the ancient jade. Perform illusions to disorient the tracker. The reflection of the lake is like an illusion, as if reflecting my future road to the rivers and lakes, which is both sinister and bizarre. Chapter 34, Clues to the 9 Treasure Sutra. The ancient jade retrieved from the bottom of the lake hides the runes pointing to the stone chamber in the center of the valley. The entrance to the stone chamber is covered with ancient mechanisms, which I crack with Buddha's hands, distinguish between true and false with ghost eyes, and arrange magical skills and phantom formations, making it impossible for any lurker to approach. Every step is exciting, and the full picture of the 9 Treasure Sutra seems to be about to be presented. Chapter 35, Overseas Forces Appear. Just as I was about to enter the stone chamber, Russian collector Ivan, Indian treasure dealer Ashoka and Matsumoto Sho appeared at the same time. They each have ghostly habits and want to grab the entire volume of the 9 Treasure Sutras. I used ghost eyes, Buddha's hands, and divine skills, laying out illusions, causing the 3 parties to misjudge each other. The undercurrent was turbulent, and the atmosphere of the rivers and lakes reached the extreme tension. Chapter 36, Xiling's Decision. Xiling appeared, with a solemn expression. The 9 treasure scriptures can be controlled by extraordinary people. If you want to take it, it all depends on wisdom and courage. I nodded slightly, secretly deciding in my heart that no matter how dangerous the challenge was, I would complete the extreme trial of 10 years of cultivation. Her appearance is both a guide and a final test. Chapter 37, The Stone Chamber Challenge. The stone chamber gate was like a mountain, carved with strange runes. The ghost eye identifies traps and secret passages, the Buddha's hand cleverly cracks the mechanism, and the magic technique uses illusion to cover the action. Every step forward is like going through a 1000-year puzzle. Finally, I stood in the center of the stone chamber, facing the light of the entire scroll of the 9 Treasure Sutras. Chapter 38, The 9 Treasure Sutras are revealed. The entire volume of the 9 Treasure Scriptures was unfolded, and the rune light flashed. I saw the mystery at a glance and understood that the real power is not in the treasure itself, but in the wisdom, courage, and human heart of the controller. Jianghu masters, overseas collectors, and shadowless guests were all shocked by this momentum and could not act rashly. Chapter 39, A Bizarre Decisive Battle. Just as the light of the 9 Treasure Scriptures was blazing, the shadowless guest and overseas forces launched an offensive at the same time. I used my Buddha's hand to turn the situation around, see through the illusion with my ghost eyes, and use magical skills to confuse the illusion, trapping the masters of all parties in the illusion. Light and shadow intertwined, strange flowers and plants seemed to come to life, and the final showdown of the rivers and lakes reached a climax in the bazaar. Chapter 40, Return to the Rivers and Lakes. After the war, the entire 9 Treasure Sutra was in my hands, the overseas forces retreated, and the shadowless guest disappeared into the fog. Xiling smiled, "You have truly mastered the ghost eye, Buddha's hand, and magical skills, and you also understand the true meaning of antique rivers and lakes, playing with people." I stood on the top of the valley, the turmoil subsided, but I knew in my heart that the rivers and lakes were always changing, and I was strong enough to face the unknown challenges ahead. Chapter 41, The Long Night and the First Light. After the decisive battle in the valley, the rivers and lakes took a break, but the night did not dissipate. I walked alone in the depths of the stone chamber, and the light of the 9 Treasure Sutra was still there, as if burning in my heart. What the ghost eyes see is not only the authenticity of the treasure, but also the reality of the human heart. What the Buddha's hand touches is not just a mechanism, but a twist in fate. Divine skills are my last trump card to dance with the rivers and lakes. Chapter 42, The Shadowless Aftersound. In the fog, the voice of the shadowless guest sounded again, "The 9 treasure scriptures belong to you, but the rivers and lakes will not stop." My heart was shocked, but I responded calmly, "The rivers and lakes are not over, so I will go on." The sound gradually faded away, like a night wind, dissipating into the boundless valley. Chapter 43, The Secret of the 9 Treasure Sutras. I opened the entire volume of the 9 Treasure Sutra and found that it was not just a treasure map, but a scripture about human nature. It records, antiques in the rivers and lakes, true and false. The real treasure is the ability to see through people's hearts and make good use of situations. At this moment, I finally understood Xiling's painstaking efforts over the years. Chapter 44, Xiling's Departure. At dawn, Xiling stood by the valley, dressed in long clothes and hunting. She looked at me and said softly, "You don't need me anymore." My throat tightened, but I could only be silent. She turned and left, her back fading into the morning light, as if she had never existed. Chapter 45, The Return Journey. I took the 9 treasures on the way back, but encountered new and old enemies along the way. The ghost eyes have insight into the murderous intent, the Buddha's hand turns the situation upside down, and the magic phantom makes the enemy kill each other. Every confrontation is a test for me. Chapter 46, The Old Dream of the Capital. Back in the capital, I stepped into the familiar antique street. 10 years ago, I was just a nobody, but now I hold the 9 treasure sutras. The antique shops on the street are still there, and the palm of the stall is still shouting, but in my eyes, it is completely different. Chapter 47, The New Situation of the Rivers and Lakes. The news of the 9 treasure sutra spread like wildfire, and although all forces were defeated, they were ready to move. Some people visit me secretly, some test me, and some fear me. I responded calmly, and I was no longer afraid. Because I know that the real laws of antique rivers and lakes will never change. Chapter 48, The Game is Overturned. One day, I set up a fake auction on the street. They competed to bid, only to find out that the real treasure had been secretly taken away by me. Everyone was horrified, but I just smiled. Antiques are not playing with antiques, but playing with people. Chapter 49, A Bizarre Event. The capital hosts a centennial antique event. The hall is brilliantly lit, and the treasures are dazzling, making it difficult to distinguish between true and false. I saw the virtual reality with ghost eyes, the Buddha's hand turned the world upside down in the dark, and the magic illusion amazed the audience. In the flow of light and shadow, I seemed to see the past master and apprentice years, and the nightmares of the rivers and lakes have become a thing of the past. Chapter 50, Sustainability of the Rivers and Lakes. After the event, I walked alone down the long street. The 9 Treasures Sutra was taken into his arms and no longer showed half of the light. I understand in my heart that the rivers and lakes are not a competition for treasures, but a contest of people's hearts. I looked up at the moon, smiled and whispered. Antiques in the rivers and lakes, ghostly eyes look at the world, Buddha's hand breaks the game, and magic skills enter the soul. The so-called treasure is just the human heart. The rivers and lakes are still vast. And I am still walking in it.